This week on JTV, we're creating a corsage for homecoming for a strapless gown. We can't use pins. Can you figure out how we're going to be able to attach this? This week's project comes directly out of the pages of the John Henry Prom and Homecoming book. It's the corsage I get asked about most of all. And in this case, we're creating a corsage for a strapless dress that actually fits on the shoulder of the girl. It's easy to create once you know the secrets. We'll create today's project using a couple simple key elements that help create the style that we want. We'll make this week's project on this form. I took an egg out of styrofoam and a half sphere, put 2 koi picks in, and combined them together. This creates a form for us to make the corsage directly on. Because it's shaped like a shoulder, it will help us decide exactly what this is going to look like. We're going to use Band-Aids, sports Band-Aids, because they're large and they stick really well. We've got 2 different sizes. We can use a medium or a large. Today, I'm going to use the large. The large Band-Aid will fit on the girl's shoulder just like this. What we'll do is we'll hold that in place using some corsage pins. Now here's a really cute trick that I learned from my friend BJ Dyer in Colorado. He gave me this. It's a metal container with 3 magnets on the back. But inside, voila, I've got pins, and they're not going to fall out because the magnets are inside there. It's a great way to put pins in a toolkit or carry them or pick them up when you've dropped them. We'll take a couple of the pins and put them into the styrofoam, holding our Band-Aid in place. We've taken the Band-Aid out of the package, but left the back on. That's very important, first step. Now, we're going to create the armature on the outside using our Lomi aluminum wire. We'll take off a couple yards of wire and then use our wire toolkit. These are available at most craft stores. The one I got is available from Parawire.com. But it allows us to shape and form our wire. We'll start with both ends and create a loop that actually turns into a spiral. We'll also create a couple of those spirals inside the middle of the wire too. These are going to be the places where we actually attach the flower. Do another one here. The wire tools make it extremely easy to create those spirals. So now I have a piece of wire that has 5 spirals. I'll start by placing this one here and then winding these around. Now remembering that this is going to balance on her shoulder. The other great thing about this is we can form fit it and she can create it to be whatever she wants it to be when she's got it on her shoulder finally. Because the wire is very pliable, it allows us to shape and form it. I'm going to use a couple more pins to hold this in place so it's secure while we're working with it. You'll notice that I put these in at an angle, and that's going to help hold that in place. Our next step is to add the floral lights from Acolyte. We want this to light up for homecoming, And by using these, we've attached a wire directly to the on-off switch on the Fluorolite 2. So when we pull that, it's able to pull on, and we can also shut it off. This is great, so we can demonstrate it and show how it's going to look, but they can also conserve the battery power. I've taken the Fluorolite like this and trimmed off the black string that comes with it. Then taking a length of metallic wire, I feed that directly through the eyelet on the switch. Then I twist that off so that it's nice and secure. There's an Acolyte logo on the outside of this, so I want to cover that up. And we'll do that simply by using some silk hydrangea blossoms. I pick up hydrangea blossoms like this and then trim off the individual flowers so that I can use them to conceal something like this. Place some hot glue on the back and then attach that directly over the Acolyte logo. The other side is purple, so that's great. It's just good color. I could put a flower on both sides if I wanted to. Again, because I'm using permanent botanical flowers and I'm attaching them to plastic on the Acolyte itself, I'm using low temp hot glue. I'm using different colors too so that I get great interest. There, it covers it up completely. Now don't get confused. I only use hot glue when I'm working with permanent botanicals and working with hard goods. I would never, ever, ever use hot glue on fresh flowers. So that's the last time you'll see that glue gun throughout this webisode. We can take these lights now and attach them underneath, hanging off of the armature that we've created. I've simply wrapped the wire around the outside and fastened it. I can cut off the excess wire, and I also can use my tool to curl those wires in so that I don't have any sharp ends sticking out to harm the girl who's going to wear this. I'll go ahead and attach these in several places on the armature. Again, wrapping it around, trimming off the excess, and curling the ends. I'll do that with the other 5 I have. I want to sneak a couple here close to the center of it so that I have light towards the focal area of the corsage as well. So I have to carefully manipulate those around the outside and attach that wire securely. Always making sure to curl in those sharp ends. And one more right about there. I also use these wires to help connect parts of the armature. That adds strength to the overall corsage I'm making. My next step is to add a bow. I used some beautiful ribbons from Reliant and created a hand-tied bow that I tied in the center with another piece of ribbon. That's another way for me to eliminate any wires that might go into something that's going to be really close to someone's skin. We're going to take this ribbon and tie it directly on the wire at the top of the corsage where our focal area exists. I'm going to tie it in one spot, and then I'm going to come over and tie it in a second area around another wire. When I do this, it allows the wire itself to anchor and hold the ribbon in place so that it won't slide. We'll anchor it on this side as well. Now I'm going to remove these middle pins as I start to add my flower placements. And what we're going to notice is we're going to use cold adhesive now from the Oasis Company. Using cold floral adhesive with our floral products doesn't damage them in any way, shape, or form. We're able to keep the flowers nice and cool, and it's gentle enough, it's never going to hurt them. Hot glue that comes out of a hot glue gun will destroy our flowers. We're going to start with some beautiful Vanda orchids from Amy. Amy's one of the few places in the world that actually grows the Vanda orchids. We're able to cut off a blossom and trim away that back stem so that it's completely flush. Then we can add glue, and we'll add glue and extend it up onto each one of the petals of the Vanda orchid. We're also going to glue that orchid right here over the top of our wire and onto the Band-Aid itself. So here, we've extended that. The Vanda orchid is actually going to adhere the wire directly to the Band-Aid and be held in place by the orchid. We'll let that dry for a couple seconds, and in the meantime, we'll add some glue down here on the spirals. When we created these spirals, our intention was to add a Vanda orchid on top. So by applying the glue to those spirals, we'll simply add the orchids. And we'll use one more. Now I have 5 spirals, but I'm only adding 3 Vanda orchids. I don't want it to become too overpowering, so I can use some of the smaller orchids. Again, one of Amy's signature orchids. That comes in the exact same color as the Vanda blue. Trimming off the stem and applying glue to the back. A lot of people have written in, and they're challenged with working with the glue. One of the things that you'll notice is I'm allowing the glue to dry slightly before placing the 2 objects together. First of all, we have to use enough glue, and secondly, we have to wait for it to dry slightly before adhering them together. What happens then is it simply glues very easily over the top. And they just naturally cling together. Our other orchids can be placed on the other spirals. And we'll place a couple more orchids, the tiny dendrobium ones, up here in the center of the bow. We can even place a hydrangea blossom up there. Because I'm working with the cold adhesive, it works well with permanent botanicals too, but it helps carry that hydrangea blossom we have throughout up into the center focal area. I want to introduce a little bit of a metallic color. You know how popular metallics are. In this boutonniere, I've created a boutonniere using the ColorFresh and the silver. It's a great way to add metallics that are so trendy and popular right now. Since purple's a royal color, I want to add some gold. And this gold Ming is absolutely gorgeous. We'll take the stem and just apply glue to the stem itself. You'll notice that I'm using a good quantity of glue, so it's building up on the stem pretty well. We have to have enough glue to make sure that the stem adheres to it. Many times, if people have problems with glued flowers falling off, it can be because they don't use enough glue. That's generally the easiest fix to making sure everything works properly. We'll go back to the first one that we applied, and we can use that accent right here at the top. The great thing about ColorFresh is that ColorFresh is a color that's added to Fern Trust's proven leaf sealant. It's going to make the foliage last longer and prevent shedding. The foliage will last up to 7 days longer. It allows us to use Ming as a great accent, especially in corsage work. I'm just tucking these pieces underneath the orchid and gluing them directly to the wire and the glue underneath. Here's one more piece we can put right down here at the bottom. Our final step to ensure that our corsage lasts as long as it possibly can is to use Professional Chrysal Glory. Using the Professional Chrysal Glory as an anti-transpirant will allow our orchids to last as long as they possibly can. We can leave this on this armature form until it's ready to be delivered, or we can take it off of here and box it. When I remove our pins, I'm able to take the sports bandage off. Now notice how that would sit on her shoulder. She takes off the back of the bandage and applies it to her skin. One thing to remember, many of today's young girls use lotions and different kinds of makeup. One of the things I always include with this is a little alcohol swab so that they can clean the area completely before sticking on the Band-Aid. That way, it's going to adhere for the entire evening. The great thing about a sports bandage is it's made to stand up to sweaty athletes, so it'll be great on a beautiful little girl and she won't have to worry at all. It's a great way for us to have an incredible corsage that also lights up. Just before she's ready to wear it, we can pull the acolytes and have those light up. It's a simple step that even her date can do. Now that's pretty wonderful. And you know, prom and homecoming events are when kids like to be noticed. The girl who's wearing this will certainly be queen for that night. Until next week, keep having fun with flowers.